Hey there, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Wednesday. As expected, when we came in this morning, we saw futures down about 35 basis points coming into today. Nasdaq was down a little bit more, but nice recovery at the end of the day. We were actually grinding higher. S&P was just and has been was and has been a very slow mover, but it did come back. Nasdaq, you could see a little bit more volatility, which I'll get to volatility in a minute. But Nasdaq started down about 50 basis points. The valuers act really, really good when you start the day below value. You kind of can see where you've got resistance or where you could bounce up to, which is basically what we did in Nasdaq or the Qs. If you look at the Qs chart, um, we actually hit right at the bottom of value and then faded. So it looked like we were actually going to turn back lower here. You could see a nice hammer bar right around 245, and we bounced. So we really started to see a lot of things break down. Things looked pretty dicey there for a little while. If you look at small caps, so this small caps did not recover like S&P and Nasdaq, but they did bounce a little bit. If you look at the end of day performance, down 86 basis points, so really kind of ugly here. I don't have the 100-day moving average on this chart, but you can kind of see what I mean. It's not good to see small caps break down, in my opinion. So we are at the 100-day moving average now. If you kind of broaden this out a little bit. So that's going to be the test. We'll see if we hold it tomorrow. But again, IWM for me is a leading indicator. So sometimes IWM starts to move before anything else, before the rest of the market direction is revealed. So I really pay close attention to small caps and did not like how they were down and almost breaching the 100-day moving average. So we'll have to see if that holds for tomorrow. For now, it held. You look at what happened in Europe today, the way that Europe closed, really ugly. So you would think our market would be down more, but it was actually the DAX that was down 1.1%. Euro stocks were down 1.4%, so they really kind of took it on the chin. The CAC was down 1.4% as well. We've talked about the DAX, how this is another area that is must watch right now. Just sitting between the 100-day and the 200-day moving average. It started to kind of come back here. Woo. For a couple of days. Friday had a nice bounce on the jobs number, but we're back to where we were on the lows. So I think that and small caps in the U.S. very, very important to watch right now. The VIX. The VIX kind of did its thing. These short-term spikes are just that, sometimes short-term. We actually started to head towards the high again, and we actually hit the pre-market high, and then it got crushed. So vol got crushed in the last 30 minutes of the day, and you could see why we have that type of a hammer. Keep in mind, the volume. If I could find this. If you look at today's volume in ETFs and you sort this by the biggest volume, so again, I would say third area to watch is the VIX. When you see the VXX trading 120 million contracts, which it normally trades 62, and doubles the volume in SPY, you know that we've got some volatility present. Same thing in UVXY, traded 2.8 times. Same thing in TVIX. So when you see the VIX names, this is seeing the most volume of anything else, you know that there's volatility present. So we'll see if this continues to sell off. I mean, it's shocking to me that we go all the way from 1240 to 11 in about a half hour, but sometimes that's what the VIX does today. If you look at gold and bonds, they finally got a bid today. They really didn't do much at all yesterday. So gold was up 1.2%. We did see some gold buying. I did not jump on the bandwagon of buying gold today. My philosophy is to kind of do this ahead of time, not when you see 25,000 contracts that people are rushing in because gold is starting to move up a little bit. So I could be wrong here. I've owned GDX for a couple weeks. I thought that would be a good hedge. I've also owned FXY. On the break of the 200-day moving average. I would imagine this FXY probably sold off a little bit at the end of the day, which it did. But I will stay long versus the 200-day moving average, which got me into this trade. Also, you have the support of the value areas as well. So good to see this. I really don't want to see FXY do awesome because the rest of my positions will probably be doing poorly if the yen rallies that much. But just how it is. A couple other problem areas that I saw this today. Amazon. And it did come back, but if you look at the chart of Amazon, we talked about how this broke the 50-day moving average. It looked like it was going to make a couple attempts to try to reclaim it. Has not been able to do it yet. And I would say if it, which it did close below the value area, I would say that's a warning sign. It's done this before and it snapped right back above. So we'll have to see if we get a similar move. If it doesn't, there's some things down here that look pretty ugly for Amazon. So I would say if this doesn't reclaim that value area, you could see also this VPOC looming down here at 971. I would say I would be very concerned right now in Amazon if it does not reclaim that value area sooner than later. I mean, it's basically right at it. So, basically 983. I would want to see tomorrow this thing Amazon to get back above here to hold. So that's a concerned area in terms of things that did pretty well today that we saw some option activity in. We saw a lot of picking in retail names. So I'm actually missing a couple on here, but Burlington, TJX, Guess. There was also some AEO, which I need to add to my list. So this could be, it's a little bit uncertain whether people are just kind of putting on some positions against their short positions to hedge. Just like when you're long something and you buy puts to hedge, could be that people are hedging their short positions with buying calls. So I would be a little bit mindful of that, of the pre-earnings flow. I thought TGX, we actually played TGX in the room today. I like how you've got support for this one. It is below the 200-day moving average, like many retail names, but it's got support. So 70.67 is what I would be watching for TJX. They came in a couple times, and it looks like they were bought. A couple other names that saw option activity was Estee Lauder. Big move for Estee Lauder, believe it or not, breaking out to 52-week highs. So we saw Estee Lauder calls a couple times today. So that's a repeater in this one. This was mainly September. So also a little, some of these trades give me a little bit more confidence when I see that they're going out at least to September and not just the weekly stuff. People get very wrapped up in weekly call buyers. So that's great if you're day trading, but why would you want to hold something more than a day trade if you're just seeing weekly call buyers in it, or even next, especially the call buyers that go out like just a couple days after earnings. That just tells me that they're either hedging earnings or maybe they're doing a little speculation. But to me, that's not a strong signal. It's something that's to be played for a day trade. So that we saw, and a lot of short dated, like I said, trades for retail. That was mainly the story of the day. We saw some nice Gilead repeat activity. Gilead is a perfect example of that. First thing we saw was January calls in Gilead, and then a whole bunch of weekly players stepped in. And sometimes when the weekly players stop with the weekly call buying, this is what happens. So I like the fact that somebody went out long term. I do have a position in Gilead that I didn't add to. I didn't really touch at all. It's in my cash trend portfolio. So those I don't really adjust that much unless they, obviously hit the stop, as a classic trend portfolio is. But so I really didn't follow that momentum. But that's basically it for day trades, or the trades that were of interest today. I did take another trade today. I like the chart. What I've been focusing on is names that have had earnings and have pulled back to support. So Bud, we saw some 125 calls. They may have unwound some shorter dated calls and rolled out. But looking at the chart, and that's half of what option activity is. I'm just looking for ideas. So Bud, a big gap up on earnings, and it's retraced into some support, which is the top of value. So I did take this trade, took the December trade. I like looking for names that post earnings have had a pullback on good numbers. So and then also have support as well. So there's a couple other trades today, but I think that's mainly it. I think for tomorrow, watch a couple of things that I talked about. We'll see what the VIX does, but I think Europe is getting to be a trouble area. Not yet, but getting closer to that 200-day moving average in the DAX. And then small caps also look a little troublesome. So great to see us kind of come back at the end of the day and volatility come off, but I don't think we're out of the woods for some of these areas. A little bit too early to tell if things are improving. All right. So thanks for watching today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.